Hey everybody, Movie Reviewer Next Door here, and I'm back with the Bond series again. I think I'm gonna do 2 Bond reviews today, because, I got a tiny bit of sleep, but kinda couldn't go back to sleep. I'm a bit of an insomniac. Thinking of doing 2 Bond movies today, and maybe later doing part of what I was gonna do for the 200 subscribers special. But, right now, is my review of License to Kill. This film is from 1989, directed by John Glenn, and there are a lot of actors I want to mention from this film. So, starring Timothy Dalton, Carey Lowell, Robert Davi, Talisa Soto, Anthony Zerbe, Frank McRae, Benicio del Toro, and Desmond Llewellyn. Oh, and David Hedison. So, in this film, after capturing the notorious drug lord Franz Sanchez, Bond's close friend and former CIA agent Felix Leiter is left for dead and his wife is murdered. Bond goes rogue and seeks vengeance on those responsible as he infiltrates Sanchez's organization from the inside. Now, what do I think of License to Kill? This is one that I've always been kind of usually I think it's good. I don't put it on a pedestal like a lot of Bond fans do nowadays, because back when this film came out, it was very polarizing. Even the film before, its noticeably darker approach to the character didn't fly with a lot of people who were used to the Roger Moore films, and I can really understand that. But even with Roger Moore being my favorite Bond, I like this change because it doesn't go all super dark without any, relief from it. Like the Craig era, from what I've seen from I've seen Casino Royale and Spectre. I don't remember much about either. They were kind of unspecial for me. But License to Kill, I think this is a pretty damn good Bond film. I gave it a 9 out of 10. That's what I gave it. And it went up a peg. It used to be 8 out of 10. I've really warmed up to Timothy Dalton as Bond, and I really think that he... If anything, I think A View to a Kill should have been instead one of his movies that was supposed to come out. Property of a Lady or whatever. Which... yeah, I'd be very curious to... I wish we could have seen that movie. But, anyways, License to Kill, the cast. Timothy Dalton as James Bond. He feels fully into the role here, especially his version of the character, and I really do like his version of the character here because he has bits of emotional vulnerability that I can really get behind, and that don't make him so serious that it's not fun to watch, because it is still a fun ass movie. But yeah, Timothy Dalton kills it in the stunts, kills it in the acting. He's great. Carey Lowell as Pam Bouvier. I used to be kind of lukewarm on this Bond girl, but now I think I've warmed up to her. I do like her. She's a CIA that's she's kind of as set up as Bond's equal, and I kind of like this character more than Barbara Bach's character from Spy Who Loved Me, Agent Triple X. I like this character more as an equal to Bond. Robert Davi as Franz Sanchez, I think, is one of the best villains of the series. I think he's really down to earth. I love Robert Davi as an actor. I think he is fantastic here. He is very menacing, and he's very unassuming, and you never know when he's going to turn. Talisa Soto as Lupe Lamora. I don't even know if they said her last name. Talisa Soto, you can take her or leave her. She's a bit of a meh character. They try to have this whole kept woman thing like they did in Thunderball, and it kind of just doesn't work with her. She's very bland in her performance. You don't really get the feeling at all that she's really that bad, and her line deliveries do lack emotion many times. She's gorgeous. I'll give her that for sure. But yeah, she is a bit weak. Anthony Zerbe is Milton Crest. He's kind of a henchman to Franz. I've always liked Anthony Zerbe ever since the Omega Man, and it was nice to see him here. I liked him. Frank McRae is Sharky. He's a friend of Felix Leiter's. I've really liked him. I think he's a really nice side character. Benicio del Toro is Dario, who is the right-hand man of Franz Sanchez, and you kind of get the feeling that he's like a stepdad or something because of the way they interact. It's very family-like and it's great. And Benicio del Toro can play a fucking psychopath, and I love him for it. It's awesome. And Desmond Llewellyn as Q. He returns and he gets quite a bit bigger part in the story, and I really like that. I think Desmond Llewellyn was a great actor, and I'm glad to see his part expanded. And David Hedison as Felix Leiter. He returns from Live and Let Die, which is pretty interesting. And I mean, this is the last time we'll see him, but it's interesting to see him playing basically the same Felix Leiter from that film. Just now he's given more of a part in the story, and I always like that. But yeah, the opening title sequence, it's also one of the weak points of this film. The whole Maurice Bender style does wear a bit thin here. It's like the product placement too for Kodak was weird. It's just kind of It's very this might be one of the worst title sequences. Not that it's like unwatchable. It has a couple interesting bits of iconography, but for the most part, nah. But the title song, License to Kill by Gladys Knight, is a really nice one. I think it's one that gets pretty overlooked because not everybody's into 80s power ballads. But yeah, License to Kill. This film, it definitely is one of the most serious ones. It is the most serious one so far. Because people talk about the Connery era being kind of more serious, closer to Ian Fleming Bond. And then there's people who talk about Timothy Dalton Bond, saying he's the closest we've ever gotten. I haven't read the books, so I can't really comment on that. I am reviewing these films as spy thrillers, as Bond films. My out of 10 rating is how good is this as a Bond film for me? Because I can't really put a rating on everything, because if I rate something that's like supposed to be like, ooh, artsy fartsy against like an action movie, like I feel like that's kind of unfair because they're going for different things. I try to rate things for what they're going for. So this, as a Bond film, it delivers on everything you'd want in a Bond film while also being its own thing, which is a commendable feat. John Glenn has, it's interesting how many different types of Bond he's been able to bring to the screen. Like you had Roger Moore's most serious Bond film in For Your Eyes Only. You had Octopussy, which was flat out a bit too silly at times, and it kind of didn't gel with the random bits of tension. A View to a Kill, which I liked. Living Daylights, which was kind of a transition from Roger Moore to Dalton. And then License to Kill, which I think is the second best Bond film that John Glenn directed. And I do genuinely think this is a great spy thriller, and let alone a great Bond film. But yeah, this film, it does have its issues. All of these films have at least small issues. I will say I'm not a fan of these films feeling the need to get past 2 hours and 10 minutes. There are small subplots that I think don't really need to be in the film. There's a dream sequence where we're supposed to think that James Bond died, and it's all just an excuse to see a bunch of people get blown up and shot at, and it kind of felt tacked on, to be honest. It involves like Cary Hiroyuki Tagawa's character, who isn't really much of a character. He's just like there to look ominous, and then it be revealed that he's a good guy, which that is one of the biggest issues I have with a lot of the ways that characters interact with Bond. They can't just like actually walk up to Bond and say, and in private, and say like, "Hey, I'm working with people who are working with you," or "We're trying to lure in Sanchez." No, they have to act suspicious as fuck because that's how this works. And it does get very annoying very quick. But I mean, you also have, but during that sequence, Bond learns stuff that isn't that. My issue with that sequence, because it has a very, it is a plot hole, and I don't really talk about plot holes that often, but it is a gaping one because it introduces characters that we haven't seen yet, like this general character that's in cahoots with Franz Sanchez, and it tells us, the audience, information about Cary Hiroyuki Tagawa's character, but how does Bond know it? If this is just supposed to be a fake out, or I mean, they insinuate that it's Bond's nightmare, but how did he learn this information through a nightmare? And then later it's confirmed in dialogue that the Hong Kong people were blown up like they were in the dream, except without Bond there. So I don't know what exactly happened there, because in the dream it's very heavily insinuated that Bond died there. So I don't really understand the I don't know. Maybe it's not supposed to be a dream. I don't know. It just, it is a gaping plot hole, and that could have been excised out of the film entirely. Those characters didn't need to be there. They really led to nothing, and it kind of got in the way of the story a little bit. Also, this film does have a pacing issue at times. The action is not the best paced. When there is action, it is very well done. John Glenn definitely knows his stuff. He knows how to he knows how to construct a pretty cool yet believable action sequence. There are a couple standouts. There's the bit with Pam and Bond in the bar where she has the shotgun. That's great. The bit in the beginning with the plane and where they hook the plane and they take Franz in. There's the bit with the truck going into the river. And of course there's the end, which everybody talks about when they talk about this film. The end with trucks and the huge explosions, like insane explosions. And they are huge explosions, but there are people claiming that they're like the biggest explosions ever caught on film. I don't know if I'd go that far. I'm pretty sure Action USA beat it out. Or like PM Entertainment films like Recoil or Guardian Angel, something like that. But still, not everybody's seen those types of films. But yeah, again, Talisa Soto, I do think is a bit as a Bond girl. Again, gorgeous woman, very gorgeous, but kind of meh on character. She only has a few scenes. Her scenes are mostly, Bond, don't go. He'll kill both of us. It's very routine. And I will say, also, Moneypenny barely gets anything to do in this film. Caroline Bliss kind of got the short end of the stick with this version of Moneypenny, where there's no, like, in Living Daylights, there was barely any banter. It was basically just, if you want to come over and listen to my Barry Manilow collection, and it's like, that's about the last you hear of her in that one. And then in this one, she's mostly just like freaking out because she wants to make sure Bond's okay, which I understand what they're trying to do, but it just kind of makes her feel like a completely different character from the Lois Maxwell version, which I understand. You're not going to top Lois Maxwell. None of the Money Pennies are going to top Lois Maxwell. Even though I like her. The woman in the Inspector, I think she's also in Skyfall, Naomi Harris. I do like Naomi Harris as an actress. I really liked her in Black and Blue. I don't like her as much as Moneypenny. Even though they try to give her more of a part in Spectre and apparently Skyfall. I haven't seen Skyfall yet. I don't know. Just Lois Maxwell, I have always loved her version of the character, and I don't think anybody can do it any better. But yeah, this film, it definitely tries to be more down to earth with Robert Davi's character. This was the first Bond film not filmed in the UK, so it's almost all filmed in either, I think Cuba or parts of America, which I can understand from a budget perspective. It is pretty costly to shoot in the UK. And yeah, I understand it. I have no real issue there. But yeah, this film, it goes for something different. It succeeds for the most part, and I had a fun time with it. I think Timothy Dalton knows exactly when to inject a bit of humor or a little bit of a quip. Where in Roger Moore's films you expect it, like every other scene, Timothy Dalton knows exactly when to drop it in to alleviate some of the tension, whereas Daniel Craig really didn't. But yeah, let me get to the pros and cons. Pros: Timothy Dalton, Carey Lowell, Robert Davi, Anthony Zerbe, Frank McRae, Benicio del Toro, Desmond Llewellyn, David Hedison all do great jobs. The action is pretty well done. It's very, spectacular. Very, the explosions are very nice. The gunfights are very well shot. You can tell what's happening. Unlike a lot of stuff from like the early 2000s, that whole Bourne Identity, Bourne Supremacy shooting style where you can't tell what the fuck's happening. I'm glad we've let go of that for the most part. The score from what's his name? Please forgive me. Michael Kamen, who also composed Lethal Weapon. I really do like his score here. It uses the Bond theme more than the Bill Conti score from For Your Eyes Only, which that score by itself, I understood why he didn't choose to do the Bond theme throughout the score. He wanted to focus more on the emotional beats, and I can understand that. In this film, I think it works as like a bombastic finish to Timothy Dalton's tenure as Bond, and yeah, I do really like it. I do quite a lot. Cons, again, there's the, I guess, a dream sequence. If it's a dream sequence, I think it's pretty unnecessary and is really just gets in the way of everything. And it just comes off very forced, and the way that people find out things throughout the plot just kind of feels from that. Again, Talisa Soto is very like boring as the Bond girl. Again, gorgeous, not but boring. The sorry about the noise. Again, the pacing could be helped a bit. I'm not really looking forward to the Daniel Craig films because of how long they are, except for Quantum of Solace, which is like an hour and 45 minutes. All of them are like at least 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I'm not looking forward to that because I get the feeling they're not going to be the best paced. But this film, it's not the worst paced, but I do think 2 hours is enough for this type of story. And there are scenes that I think could have been edited down or shortened, compacted, just like that. But yeah, other than those things, I do still think this is a great Bond film. It's on the higher end of my list. And yeah, after this one, I have 9 more to go. Oh dear God, this is going to be rough. But, after GoldenEye, I'll try to get to the 200 subscriber special. Since we're at the end of the video, I will remind everybody the giveaway short video. Comment down below in that. I'm in, and you'll be entered in the giveaway. If I don't have at least 5 people comment, I guess I can't do the giveaway though, because I'll have no one to give the stuff to. So, y'all better comment down below. But yeah, that was my review of License to Kill. If you liked the video, comment down below, like the video, subscribe, hit the bell, and Movie Reviewer Next Door, out.